What's up, guys? Doug Polk here, and welcome back to the Doug Polk podcast. This is our first official podcast since I got back from my trip. I've been away for a month, and then we did a bit of a shoot the shit pod last week. Thank you guys for tuning into that. Today, we are joined by the 2021 World Series of Poker Player of the Year, Josh Arieh, will be joining the podcast. Plenty to talk about. I want to talk to him most specifically about some of the shit talking he's doing on Twitter. I don't like that one bit, guys. I like to have good, clean fun here in the pod. But before we do that, I want to quickly say that today's podcast is brought to you by CoinFlex. CoinFlex is a cryptocurrency derivatives exchange and is the home of crypto yield for people to both trade and earn crypto. All additional ads have been disabled on this podcast now that we have an official sponsor, so please enjoy this podcast ad-free thanks to CoinFlex. The CoinFlex platform provides an array of products that serve investors and traders of all skill levels, from passive beginners to active experts. What I'm most excited about with our new partnership with CoinFlex is exploring the many opportunities that people can use to make money today. Whether it's trading, automated market making, or simply holding Flex USD, there are so many ways to explore earning money now. CoinFlex can help you make the most from crypto, allowing you an opportunity to take charge and chart your own course to your financial destiny. So what are you waiting for? Head on over and check out CoinFlex at www.coinflex.com. Legal disclaimer, none of the information contained here constitutes an offer to buy or sell currency, product, or financial instruments, to make an investment, or to participate in any particular trading strategy. All right. Now, I introduce our guest here today. Josh, thank you for joining us.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
No problem. When I saw the big news that you had outgunned Phil Hellmuth and Daniel Negreanu for Player of the Year, I felt like I had to get you on.
Yeah, man, it was a lot of fun, and it felt even better when, I mean, not that the names of the guys that were on the top of the leaderboard were not good players. They were all amazing players, but like Daniel and Phil are just household names, and I know how bad they both want it. So it's like bittersweet being able to sneak in and keep them from winning.
Yeah, I saw you talking a little trash on Twitter. You know, everyone knows that I tend to stay out of any conflict. I usually just say very nice things about everyone. So what's up with this beef you're starting? I saw this tweet. I prepared this for the podcast here because I wanted the people to be able to see what I'm talking about here. When you tweeted, just your weekly reminder at Real Kid Poker and Phil Hellmuth that I'm way better than both of you guys, and a picture of your point totals here.
Yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg, man. I'm really going to twist the knife a little bit and have some fun with it. They're both buddies of mine, and they both know that I'm just like a resident troll and like poking fun at people. And so they take it well. And so I'm going to have some fun with it.
Very, very nice indeed. Yeah, I do like some good-natured ribbing. I got a little ribbing from Phil Galfond the other day.
I saw that.
That was out of left field, man. I was almost in the stands there, and I just like took a stray ball from Phil Galfond. I
thought you said good players or something like that.
Yeah, tough lineups. He said tough lineups. Yeah, I think some good-natured ribbing online is always fun to see. People enjoy, obviously, the back.
I just think that people just take themselves too seriously. Like I'll put something up that's just total, just goofing off, laughing at myself or laughing at somebody else. And like the Alabama game, I congratulated all the people about their husbands / uncles. And it's like, oh, now you're bringing incest jokes. I mean, come on, man. I live in fucking Georgia. The same thing happens here. It's like, I don't know. Everybody just takes not everybody, but so many people online just take themselves too seriously. And I really like to poke fun at it.
That's on the totally the same page. For the people that have not lived in the South, though, there is a little bit of a dynamic with those jokes, because I lived in North Carolina for a while. And in North Carolina, we didn't say that about Alabama. We always say that about West Virginia. So maybe there's a little bit of a regional selection with, which state you choose to make the incest jokes about. But
yeah, it's always Alabama and Georgia just go together.
Right, except, one's a little bit bigger than the other. But anyway, putting Alabama and Georgia to the side for a moment here. I wanted to kind of get a little bit of your backstory, because I think people might not know as much about you. Obviously, people saw a lot of the other people chasing Player of the Year, like Hellmuth. Obviously, Negreanu vlogged his whole tournament series over the summer. Maybe can you give us a little background on sort of your poker journey and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. No, I guess like I've been gambling since I was really young. I started gambling, playing pool at friend's house, and eventually I loved it, and I found my way to the pool halls. And when the pool halls would close, like the bartender would deal poker, and I just I never really understood why these guys that were the biggest nits in the pool hall while it was open and would only gamble when they had the nuts, their money is just flying playing poker. And the math part of it was always easy to me. And so I was like, oh, this guy's drawing dead and he's putting all his money in and actually thinks he's in a good spot. So I started finding home games. And then after that, I found my way to the casinos. And the casinos really intrigued me because I would see, like, back then, there was no limit poker. It was all limit poker. So I would see like a 10-20 limit game and think these guys are superstars. And just, I wanted to be able to beat those guys. So I drove down there, down to Biloxi. It's like 5-hour drive. I would build up a bankroll, drive down there, go broke, come straight home. And I wanted to make it a goal to be able to beat those guys because I thought they were so good. And then eventually, like, I kind of outgrew Biloxi and made my way to Vegas and really got lucky because limit poker was the thing at the time. And I was pretty good at limit poker based on versus the competition. And so I won like the second tournament I played, and I've always been good with momentum. Whenever shit starts going the right way, I'm not afraid to go and get more, where a lot of people, they'll win some money and try to lock it up and make sure that they leave with a profit, where I'm always on the parlay. It's like, if I'm good enough without this extra money in my pocket, I'm going to be way better with a big chunk of money. So yeah, that was in like my first World Series event I played was in '99, and had some decent finishes, but always was up and down with money. And then 2004, I came in third in the main event, and I basically, that didn't set me for life, but it really made it to where I knew that, poker was my future.
Right. And when you talk about trying to lock up a win, I think people do that session to session, but they can also kind of do that in life, and they
Right.
can get way too conservative. Now, poker tends to have the opposite. You tend to have people that maybe should consider locking up a little bit and don't. But it's good in a career where it's about finding edge and knowing when to bet in yourself to be able to still risk it, even though the dollar amounts continue to rise. And one thing I found kind of coming up in the stakes of poker, something that I think everyone finds as you move up in the stakes, you just start to see these guys that that could have moved up, but they just were kind of comfortable and they didn't really like how much money or the swings kind of got to them. And maybe from an ability standpoint, they could have done it, but they just didn't have sort of the heart to put it on the line when you hit certain dollar amounts. So it's a really important skill in poker to be able to just view it as big blinds, view it as a percentage of your bankroll,
Right.
and still be able to put your foot in the gas when you need to.
But it also, I mean, on top of that, and our backgrounds are very different. Like, you're very technical, and I have a lot of, not that you don't have a feel, because you definitely do, but for me, it's like, I think that to go up in limits, you have to have a little bit of recklessness, because it's different. It's very hard to look at your games as a big blind. And I still, after playing poker for almost 30 years, I still have a hard time playing bigger limits than I'm used to, because when it's 20,000 to me, I have a hard time seeing, I could be playing 200, 400. I have a hard time seeing it as 50 big blinds. So it's very hard and takes a little bit of a sickness to keep going up in stakes. And just as a kid, I just was so used to going broke. and pumping back up, I didn't really care. So I could put $5,000 into a tournament and knowing that, 75% of the time I'm pulling back zero. And when I wouldn't have such a hard time putting 20,000 of a $50,000 bankroll on the table, which is insane to think about now. But that's just it just takes the rare kind of person to be able to get to the nosebleed limits.
I also think that people are inherently conservative, and we tend to protect what we have.
Yeah.
But the people that aren't like that tend to go too far. So I think maybe some good advice for people trying to move up in poker and trying to go up through the stakes is, if you think you're someone that's too conservative, maybe push yourself a little bit, step outside your comfort zone. Don't go too crazy, but push yourself to give yourself a chance to move up. And if you're the kind of person that in your heart you're too much a risk taker, maybe take a little bit of some of those elements back the other way. Not trying to get too
good advice.
Too preachy here on the pod, but I think that's probably good. I wanted to mention really quick, you mentioned pool. So I got a pool table last week, and which, by the way, took months because of the back order on the supply chain. Everything is taking months. And it arrived. I was pumped to play a bunch of pool games, and I was talking with Caitlin, and I said, you know what, let's look at some pro games and see how they play so we can kind of see what. And I pulled up a video. First video, I click play, and I hear someone talking. I think, I know that voice. And we're sitting there, and I said, I think that's Nick Schulman.
Yeah.
And she said, no, it can't be. And I said, I think that's Nick Schulman. And it went on. And I think that's got to be. And I messaged, yo, is this you on this pool video? And I didn't realize, but he also occasionally does pool commentary too.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
He's probably the best pool poker / whatever. He's really good. Like he's top notch pool player, but chose the right path. Pool is a really hard living. Like the best players in the world are going around not making 100,000 a year. I mean, it's pool's a tough living, and it's Nick is just so sharp that, I'm sure he knew that from the beginning and took the poker route.
The thing about pool is that I think gambling isn't as baked in. Poker, you can't play poker without gambling. I know there's free to play money sites, but when you play those, you play knowing, oh, the novelty here is it's not for money. Whereas for pool, I think pool is not baked into the cake. I'm going to play pool. I'm going to play for money, right? That just happens sort of as side betting. And I think that there are probably some areas where, or some halls where that might not be the case. People gamble on games a lot, but when you don't have sort of a third party holding the money, and you have,
it's definitely treacherous.
You get into some really dicey situations quite quickly. And then also you run a little bit into a lot less luck in pool than in poker, right? Maybe there's a little bit of luck with the kind of setups you get.
The best player usually, I mean, nowadays, the guys are really stretching out, like playing races to 100 games and stuff like that, because they really want the best player to win. But yeah, it's the best player usually wins.
You need more variance. They gotta add some variance in.
For
that
sure.
might keep the Rex in,
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back a little more on topic here. So, would you say that you're more of a cash game player or more of a tournament player?
I don't enjoy cash games because I enjoy the rush of the deep runs of tournaments. And in order for me to get a rush like that playing live or playing cash, I would have to play way higher than I should be playing. So I don't. I probably play twice a month, if that, cash. But then also I only play the World Series. So, I'm neither. I don't know. A little bit of both. Not an expert at either.
Almost sounds like neither.
Yeah, exactly. I play more Fortnite than I do poker.
Oh, you're still playing that? I think I played with you guys.
You played with us before. The boys downloaded the game today. Like the new chapter came out, and
wow,
they said it's fun again.
Nice. I played a little bit with, I think you did Deeb play?
Yeah, Sean and Dan Wyman and
Volpe was in there a bit.
Yeah,
I think
Paul was playing a little bit, and a bunch of poker players with nothing better to do.
I don't like Fortnite because there's no ranking. Did they change that at some point?
What do you mean ranking? You have to be ranked?
Yeah, so when I play a video game for fun, I want to see how good I am versus everyone. And then when I win, I want to move up in stakes. And when I lose, I want to move down. And I want to see about where I actually lie. And then when I improve, I move up in rank. And part of the journey is being honest when you suck, and then
Right.
seeing the feedback, fixing it, and moving up. That's what I enjoy the most. Fortnite, I just feel like I'm lost in the woods with 100 people, and somebody wins, no one ever knows, and a new game starts. Is there
Well,
is
I
there a
think,
ranking system
yeah,
or?
they changed lobbies like based on they had some kind of AI where they know how good you are, and they put you in certain lobbies, and the better you are, the tougher your lobby is. And so yeah, you would be up against tougher competition. But basically, it'll get to a point where you can basically never win, unless you're a pro. I mean, but it's
But do you
tough.
have some kind of ranking during that, or it's just happening? Yeah, not for me,
I
man.
don't know. I don't
Not for
know.
me. Also, I don't like the cartooniness. Back in the day, people would argue Stars versus Full Tilt. I always like Stars. My logic was clean, professional. I don't want some dumb cartoon penguin as my avatar, although I always went with the penguin. That or the ATM. Um, I don't like the cartooniness. I like something a little more professional. Also, are you a little old for the Fortnite streets? I thought Fortnite
I
was mainly
mean,
played by 16-year-old kids.
yeah, no, it is, but it was we played it a lot during quarantine, but also it came along at a really good time. Like I was separated, it was soon to be divorced, and I was sitting in an apartment by myself, and my couple of my good friends were like, "Come play Fortnite with us," and so it kept me in the apartment playing video games instead of going out and doing what newly single people do. So it came about at a good time, and that's why. I mean, it's fun, and I also got to play it with my daughter too. My daughter plays it a little bit, so we would bond
Nice.
a little bit over Fortnite, and
That's cool.
yeah, so that was fun. But yeah, I'm definitely too old to play, and getting wrecked by 12-year-old kids does not do good for your psyche.
Well, I think your psyche's probably fine after this fall, so that's
Yeah.
good. It brought you back intact there. Have you tried to go for Player of the Year before? Do you normally play a full schedule, or was this one of your first times really committing down and buckling down and playing the series? Because you played the whole series this time. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, not really, but I did because of the new position that I have at PocketFives running the staking platform. I had planned to be at the World Series for the whole time. Did I plan on playing every day? No. Did I plan on having 400,000 in buy-ins? No. It just happened that way. Where at the end, like I've always hoped that I would be in a position to try to win Player of the Year, but I cannot go in there every day like Sean and Daniel and Phil and just get my head kicked in and then do it again the next day. I'm just not wired that way. But when I'm going good and enjoying my time at the table, I don't have a problem going in there every single day and playing for 14 hours. It's fun. But that's what it ended up like. Even after my first bracelet, I never looked at the Player of the Year board. After the second bracelet, I started thinking, I was like, you know what? That Player of the Year thing's out there. Let me look. And I was close. So then I decided to play the online event that was like the day after or something, and then final table that. And now I'm in the lead. And that's when I decided, wow, this is fun. Like, I mean, I'll never really have the chance of doing this again. So fuck it. I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. And I just kept running deep and picking off points like, the guys that always cash. Cause I'm not like your min cash guy. I'm like, screw it. Let's get it in. And one of us is going to have a big stack and, get deep in the tournament. But I just kept building up stacks around the bubble, and I was able to pick up a lot of chips. And I was just bagging day 3 chips every tournament that I played, and so it was a lot of fun. I've thought about it in the past. It would be cool to be in the Player of the Year race, but no, it was never a realistic goal. But yeah, it was this year. After the second bracelet, it became something that I wanted to try to go for.
Well, at that point, you had to have had just
Yeah.
so many points. I want to briefly show on stream again. I just want to show just some of the numbers so that people can get a taste of this. We looked a little bit at the points earlier when you were needling Negreanu and Hellmuth, but some other notable people in the top 10 here: Ben Yu, Jeremy Osmus, Sean D, Brian Lang, Dylan, Upswing Dylan in the house, 8th place, and then Corey Aldemir winning the main event. That's going to get you some points, pretty sure. I also was looking at your hand amount. I kind of wanted to walk people through sort of the run that you had and just like look at all these caches because there's just so many of them. But you can see that the first win, it was in the 1500 PLO 8, and then the second one was in the 10,000 PLO high low. Do you have would you say PLO is one of your better games or your best game, or how would you rank your PLO?
My PLO high is really good. Like as long as we're deep and I'm not dealing with, playing short stack, it's just mathematical. It's just, picking up good hands and getting it in. But as long as we're deep, I'm really good at PLO. And the 10,000 events tend to play deeper. So I was able to get a pretty big stack early, just goofing around, and because I snap regged the 10K PLO 8 after I got knocked out 6th of the Poker Players Championship, so I wasn't in the best frame of mind. Well, 30 minutes in, now I have a 3x starting stack, and I'm playing really deep, and I just made the decision. You have a hell of a chance here, so that's I don't play. I probably had fewer hours of PLO 8 than anybody in the field, but I have pretty good deep stack pot limit Omaha strategy, and then I got a hang of the high low version, and really was able to put tighter players on ranges, and so just took my pot limit Omaha strategy and brought it to the PLO 8 streets, and it worked out.
This is how they get you for a lifetime of PLO 8 losses, by the way. It starts here. This is the
No,
first step.
no. It's so
And
boring.
then you're
so
in.
boring.
Oh,
No, no.
you didn't like that event?
No. I mean, I like PLO, but I just get so sick of just knowing that everybody has ace deuce king or ace queen queen 3. I mean, it's just like I guess I don't know. I guess if we played it high enough, I guess I'd be interested. But I don't know.
500K not enough for you?
Oh no. I mean, the tournaments that's plenty. But
you mean as a cash game?
I'm talking about as a cash game.
Okay.
No, they're not going to get me. It's a nits game. But the way that the World Series, hats off to them for adding annies to PLO games this year, and it makes it to where you can't just sit around on, you could sit on an 8 big blind stack forever, and but with the annies, it really changed the way that all the pot limit games are played.
So talking about your first bracelet, these were both live, right? You said you played some online, but your first bracelet, what was that like? Was there a point where you knew you were going to win? Can you talk about your final table a little bit, the experience there?
The first one this year?
Sorry, the first one this year, correct?
Okay. Yeah, it was. I was the short stack 9-handed. I was the short stack 8-handed, 7-handed, and there was a guy just really overplaying. The chip leader was really overplaying, and I flopped this. The flop was like Jack 3-6 with 2 spades, and I flopped 3 jacks, and he had like the 4-5 of spades, and we got it in. And from that point, I was pretty sure I was going to win. I really took advantage of the ICM. I don't even know ICM. I mean, but I really took advantage of my stack. And I just really knew I was going to win. When I got head up with Tommy Lee, it was he beat me like the first 4 or 5 hands head up, and so I was like, holy shit, is this really going to happen again? And I felt like the momentum switching, but then it was nice afterwards. Like I ended up winning a few hands after that, and then ended up winning the tournament. But it was nice to see the broadcast and see that he wasn't just like abusing me. He was actually holding the hands. But yeah, that was the 1500 was pretty smooth sailing, just because I had the chip lead the whole time, and the stacks were perfect to where, you really had to hold cards to play a pot against me.
Nice. It's nice when it works out like that, especially on a short stack.
Yeah.
I want to make a quick correction. I just realized that I called out the wrong Dylan as upswing zone, not Dylan Lind. I was thinking of Dylan Wiseman. I should have looked at the last name. I just know Dylan had a great summer, and I saw Dylan. I was like, Dylan, called out the wrong Dylan, not upswing zone. And sorry for that mistake earlier in the podcast. But anyway, when you go into the final table at a World Series, I've been very fortunate where I've usually had chips, and if I don't, I've managed to build stacks. I think I've been to 3 final tables. I think I've won all of them.
That's cool.
Let me think about that.
That's cool.
I think so. And I think in 1 or 2 of them I had huge stacks, and then in one of them I was around middle or so. I play a similar style to you, I would say, where I'm really going for the win. I'm not trying to just let pay jump and ICM up. And that's probably one of the reasons why I think a lot of the tournament community always thought I was a donk in tournaments, was because I was just punting off my chips and my ACM value.
Yeah. I've done that so many times.
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
And anyway, so when you have chips and you're willing to go for it in spots, it makes you pretty dangerous for other players, because they have to know, oh, this guy, if he busts here, he's okay with that. And so it puts sort of the pressure off you and kind of on them, right? If you just kind of accepted, if I bust, I bust, that's fine, but I'm going for the win. And they're on the, I need to try and pay jump ladder and be careful and be conservative, then it kind of lets you get away with some stuff that I feel like you can't get away with otherwise.
I totally agree. And there's a thought process that I have a lot, which is kind of egotistical, but we all, every high limit player has an ego. Every single time I'm at a final table, you look around, and I'm pretty certain that at least half the people are thinking about the fact that this might be their only chance, or they don't know when the next chance is going to be. And that thought never enters my mind. Like I'm just like numb and naive, that I just have tunnel vision, and I'm always thinking about winning. And I'm never afraid to lose. And I just think that that's an important strategy, not only in poker, but in all aspects of gambling and all aspects of business and life, where if you're afraid of succeeding, then that's probably what's going to happen, is you're not going to succeed.
Absolutely agree. The first guy that I played heads up for a bracelet, it was his 3rd time getting heads up, and he'd lost the last 2. And so I knew this was really important. And I feel like maybe he was conservative in some spots where it kind of feels like I can't let this one go too, right? I can't let this become a thing where I always get the 2nd place. And by the way, tournaments are so funny, man.
Nothing wrong with 2nd place.
If you get 2nd place in a lot of your tournaments,
once a year,
great career ahead, great career ahead. But emotionally, feeling like you can't overcome that hurdle has really got to be stressful for people. And let me give you an example. It wasn't 2nd place, but I think one of the worst live tournament players that in the first 5-10 years of their career was Sean Deeb. Sean Deeb had an epically terrible live tournament record. Horrific. I remember looking at it, and it didn't make sense. He was so good online. I don't know if it was tells. It was probably a lot of run bad, whatever it was. But his first 5-10 years of playing live tournaments in No Limit specifically, horrible record, right? At some point, I feel like that has to kind of get to you. And at some point in the near future, I'm going to have Sean on as well, so we can talk to him about this. But the reality is, tournaments have a lot of variance, and live tournaments, you're playing so few hands that it can be very easy to just run hot or run cold, and then you think you're good at tournaments, so you're not. And that's kind of the beauty of the format, right? You get your Jamie Golds who show up and win the main event, and they think they're amazing. and then they play on high stakes poker, or you just get all these people that enter the arena and run up a bankroll in tournaments, and you're just not going to get that in something like pool.
Right. No, for sure. It's why the people online, like the online tournament crushers, are like real crushers, because there's so many hands and there's a lot less variance than there is. Like I could never. I remember playing on Stars, and like there would be like the scoop or the W coop or whatever, and they're giving away 50,000 to the winner of the leaderboard. And I'm like, oh, I want to get that 50,000. And it's like, I never even came close, because it's like, I have no chance, playing that many hands, and there's just less variance. And that's why somebody like Sean's probably won that leaderboard 8 times or something.
Lord knows how many times Sean was able to win stuff like that. Sean had an ability to play a completely absurd number of tables.
He's just really sharp. I mean, it's just like Sean's going to be successful in whatever he does. It's not like there's some people like, and nothing against Jungleman, but like Jungleman, he's lucky he found poker. I mean, he's insanely good and has gotten incredibly rich from poker. But like you see him walk away from the poker table, and it's like, how does that guy get across the street? But somebody like Sean's brilliant and has just a really sharp mind, and he's going to be successful at whatever he does.
Totally agree. I actually met Jungle the first time he came out to Vegas. He stayed with me, and I thought, what planet is this guy from? Honestly, this one day I said to Jungle, "Hey man, I'm gonna get some lunch. You want to go get a burrito?" And what's a burrito?
Oh my
what?
God.
What? 18, 19, 20, 21, however old he was. I forget now. You don't know what a burrito is? Oof.
Man, we were, both of us, we both made the final table of the 50K the 2 years in a row.
Okay.
Like when I came in second and he came in fourth in 2019, and then he won it this year. But like when we were about to start play, he was having a conversation with somebody, and he points to me like he's talking about a conversation about a hand or something. And he's like, that guy, what's his name? Like, I'm like, Jungle, how do you not know my name? We basically played we've easily played tens of hours together. And he's pointing, he's like, oh, and him. He's a treat. He's something special.
His run in the 50K was incredible, including that raise in that limit hand. For those of you guys that don't know the hand, I'm going to do my best to roughly explain the action. But basically, it's the final table of the 50K. How many people are left? Do you remember at this point?
I think it's 3, maybe 4.
Okay. It sounds about right. It goes, I think that the button limps in. He raises the big blind with king, queen, I think. King, queen. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. Something like king, queen, king, jack. The small blind limp calls and has an ace rag, ace high flop, check, Jungle bets, the guy calls, turns a brick, check, river's a king, the guy bets, and Jungle raises. The action's roughly that. I maybe I got off a little bit, so please feel free to correct me in the comments below if I did. And the thing about the raise is not even a full raise. It's all in for Jungle, and it's about 1/3 of a bet, roughly.
I think it was half. I think the bet was 600,000, and Jungle went all in for 900,000.
Okay, so it's half a bet. So it's 1.5 the bet. So the guy is effectively calling 300K to win a pot of 3-ish million, 2.5
and to
million.
get head up too against, and I'm pretty sure it was 3-handed, and it would have been to get head up against Paul Volpe.
You're in the head up camp. You and Matisow, head up. You call it head up?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you and Matisow. Just you two.
No.
Who else?
What do you call it?
Heads up.
Oh, head up or heads up. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's heads up. Head up. Heads up.
It's fine. Everyone knows what you mean. It's just you and Matisow. It's an exclusive.
Matisow's my guy. That's great company. That's really good.
Great company. Great company. I had a call with Matisow yesterday. It was a great call. I listened for an hour.
Right, you didn't get to talk.
I asked Mike a question, and 12 minutes went by, and then he's not very close to answering the question. And I said to him, I said, but I asked you this question, and he was a little offended. I know. I'm giving you the backstory. Okay, sorry, I'll just back out of this one. Please,
Yeah,
Mike, carry on. Oh man,
he's a treat. He's a
It,
treat. I don't know. I guess it's heads up. I don't know what I say. Head
you say
up,
head
heads
up.
up.
It's just you and Mike. That's good.
Yeah,
It
just
was
me and
just a
Mike.
note.
I'm sticking to it. That's
Not
it.
derailing. Not trying to derail you here. But anyway, going back to that. So Jungle raised the river, and the guy folded top pair, and it just such a disastrously terrible fold from that player in that spot for the odds he's getting. And
Right.
just the fact that Jungle went on to win the tournament from there with just the hilarious picture at the
Yeah.
end. What was it? Dragon Ball Z. He was
I don't
channeling.
know, man. He's in another planet, like you said. But you know what? I did something similar to that, and everybody makes mistakes. And if you don't make a mistake, you're not human. And I love the way Ryan, because he got torched online about that play, and he's like, "Look, I fucked up," and he owned it, and he realizes it. And there's times like here's something that happened to me. I guess there is no short version. It's near the end of the series. I'm in $1,000 super turbo, and the only reason that I play, yeah, there's Jungle.
Unbelievable. This picture.
But the only reason that I'm playing this $1,000 super turbo is for the player of the year points. Well, I get down to, it started with 1,000 people, and we get down to 10 players, and we get to the unofficial final table. And right at this point, I had gotten 198 points. Ninth place pays 247 points. So I'm basically, and people kind of know that I'm playing for points, but not really. So at the same time, all this shit has come out about how great of a World Series that Phil Hellmuth has had. He's had 7 final tables, and he hasn't. How is he not leading player of the year? He has 7 final tables. He broke a record. Well, at this point, I had 6 final tables, and now this unofficial final table is my 7th. So literally 30 seconds before I play this hand that I'm going to tell you about, my thought process is fold till 9th place, because you'll get more points. And because I only had like 8 big blinds in a super turbo, and there's a guy with 1.5 big blinds. And so I'm like, okay, I'm folding till this guy's out to get my points and to tie Phil with the record of final tables. 30 seconds later, the big blind opens, and I look at 30 seconds later, the button opens, the small blind folds, and I'm in the big blind, and I look at the king 4, and I shove for like 8 big blinds after he's got 2 big blinds in the pot. And I had king 4, and I just literally like blacked out. I don't understand why I would do that. 30 seconds ago, I'm trying to tie the World Series final table record. I'm trying to secure an extra 50 points so that they have a harder time catching me, because at this point, there's only one more tournament. And so I know what it feels like to have tunnel vision and react after one thought goes through your head. So I can see how Ryan thinks, oh, fuck, he trapped me, I fold. And without analyzing the situation, at the same time, the only thought in my mind is, oh, the big blind or the button stealing, I'm going to raise him and he's going to fold. Where you stop thinking about everything else that's going on. And so I feel for him for that blunder, but he knows it was a mistake, and everybody makes mistakes. Nobody's fucking perfect.
It's tough on stream tables because when you make a really good play, you look like a genius, and when you make a bad play, you look like an idiot. And because results are binary, right? You don't get to run it a bunch of times and you decide to do something. It's just that one time. So it makes people look at players. It makes people judge players very quickly on small numbers of hands, and it's kind of tough when you play TV hands because of that. Like the hand I played versus Hellmuth, I don't know if you saw this, where I had a straight and he had a straight, but he had the higher one, and he just ripped the flop, and I ended up folding, and I folded the second nuts on the flop. Can't say I've ever done that in my life, and I'm just thinking while I'm going to fold, I'm thinking, if I'm wrong, I will never live this hand down. I'm gonna have to. There's gonna be memes about this hand for goddamn forever. I will never live this hand down. And so, but if you're right, you're a genius, right? I got a lot of compliments on that
Right.
hand because the way it went down. And I think that it's tough for people to maybe that haven't been in those spots to understand some of those emotions. But as a poker player, it's kind of like what you said earlier. You get tunnel vision, you just focus in. You're supposed to do that and not care about those things. And it's kind of hard to do both. So I guess on one hand, I'm saying it's nice that you were able to do that so well there. But on the other, you shouldn't be doing that. So,
I know. It's like, that's good, but don't do it again.
Yeah. It's, by the way, I think on some stack sizes, solvers actually do like jamming some low king X force opens.
Oh, see, I knew that. And then,
Yeah,
but
natural.
Sean told me how bad I was. Now it was, even if it was like, it's just crazy that 30 seconds prior, like before the dealer, or like when the dealer's getting the cards out of the shuffle machine, I'm thinking to myself, okay, you can tie the record of final tables and you get more points. And then I just black out. And, so yeah, and I've been doing this a long time, so it's like it doesn't stop. It always happens, and just try to
blacking out.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but it's like it's weird. Like, why on earth would I 30 seconds prior be making, the decision to accomplish these goals, and then 2 seconds later, I'm moving all in with King 4. So.
I had a moment that was a little similar to that a few World Series ago, like 2 or 3, where I just reached a point where I just said, okay, got to reel it in and try and play tight. And I just couldn't. I just didn't want to be there. And I just punted my stack. And I know I punted my stack. I played some incredibly horrible hands. I just, what was I thinking? I know kind of what I was thinking. I was just trying to get out of there. But why all of a sudden did I need to escape?
Yeah,
get me out of the Rio. I don't know.
I'm not I'm ready to get it in at most times because it's poker is a whole lot more fun playing 100 big blinds and more deep than it is, sitting there on 30 big blinds and trying to create. But this year was different in a way. I've said this a million times, but I just kept telling myself, find a way to stay in your seat. And it worked for me. Whatever that thought process is, it worked for me. I know that my version of tight is very different than everybody else's. And people would probably see that my version of tight is probably still too loose. But it works for me, or it worked for me. And, just having that thought in my mind of just find a way to stay in your seat, it ended up paying off at the end.
Yeah, I think you could say that you had a real thirst to survive. You know what I'm thirsty for? I'm thirsty for crypto derivatives at CoinFlex. CoinFlex is a crypto futures exchange which sees over $2 billion in daily trading volume. What the team has built on top of this powerful futures trading engine is a suite of innovative crypto yield products. CoinFlex is committed to making crypto yield accessible to everyone. And a cornerstone of that strategy is FlexUSD. FlexUSD is the world's first interest-earning stablecoin. You can compound your interest 3 times a day, every 8 hours on chain, meaning you can hold FlexUSD in a cold wallet and still earn interest. FlexUSD recently surpassed a $350 million market cap and has paid over $10 million in interest to holders in the last year alone. Creating FlexUSD is super simple and currently pays 10 to 20% annually. I know this community can have mixed thoughts on cryptocurrency, but what we are talking about here is a 10 to 20% return annually on US dollars. No exposure to those nasty financial downturns in Bitcoin and Ethereum price, just interest in a USD stablecoin automatically sent to your wallet 3 times a day. To learn more about FlexUSD, head on over now to www.flexusd.com. Legal disclaimer, none of the information contained here constitutes an offer to buy or sell any currency, product, or financial instrument, to make any investment, or to participate in any particular trading strategy. Also, one last thing, guys. We have a giveaway. I said we need a giveaway here at CoinFlex to get things going. Head on over to Twitter. It's my pinned tweet. You can enter to win $2,000 in Flex Coin. 11 lucky winners will be chosen on Friday. You can head on over there to enter now. All right, Josh, back in the action. Sorry for the surprise ad read there. I like to keep my
Yeah,
guests on their
great.
toes. Anyway, okay, so jumping back into, we were talking about sort of mental state and staying sharp during the World Series of Poker. Did you find that as the series dragged on that you started to lose focus or that you were playing less well, or did you find that you were just as sharp day to day?
No, man, this past the past 8-9 months has been really, really good for me. I have got my personal life in a place that it's never been. I have relationships with my daughters like I've never had. I have an amazing girlfriend that's there for me 100%. And I also have a full-time job. So it's like I, I would have been happy whether I did good or not. And as the success came in poker, it just no, I really enjoyed playing all summer or whatever, all fall.
It's weird to say that, right?
Yeah, it's really weird. And yeah, I don't know. I'm in a great place without all of this. Like if I had lost every tournament, I would have been in amazing mental space. So I really enjoyed getting to go play every day.
Very nice. I've not played a full series, but I've played some of the online series and I streamed it. And I think streaming, people might underestimate the amount of effort that it takes to stream. When I talk to a lot of streamers in other games, they can just kind of focus on their stream and not the game as much because there's not money at stake. But when you stream poker and try and interact with the audience, it's just so tough because you're playing for money, especially if you're playing mid to high stakes. And then you're also trying to interact with the audience. And there's also a delay on top of it. So that's very tiring. And I remember some of the ends of those days where I would play for 10, 12 hours a day. I'd walk away from the computer and I would just be in this fog. And
Yeah.
I would look at my text the next day and I would read them and I'd say, this isn't even a sentence. These words don't make sense together. What happened there? You know, I'm just so exhausted after those days. I imagine playing a full series has to be kind of similar because you have to be there all day. And I think for some people, they probably do wear down over time. But I guess if you love the game enough, it doesn't feel like that. You probably stay sharp.
Well, I was able to make it to where my schedule was basically the same. Like I was done at 2:00 in the morning, and then I wouldn't play, and then I was always starting day 2 or the 3 p.m. tournament. So I was starting at 2 or starting at 3, and just dealing with my work stuff in the morning. I just got a good routine going, and then when you get to the table, I'm able to shut everything else out. So it's like when I get to sit down, I get to everything else is turned off, and it's just like makes your time at the table easier than the rest of your day. But
Kind of a
getting
vacation in a way.
yeah, and but getting my work done in the morning was always helpful, and just having a regular routine. It wasn't as exhausting as it could have been because, yeah, I don't know if this is something that, well, I don't know.
Wait,
No, this was the first year of my almost that I ever remember not taking Adderall during the World Series. I always was dependent on it, diagnosed from a doctor, and thought that it helped me focus. Well, the bad thing about Adderall is that you play and then you can't sleep. So now the next day you need it more because it'll wake you up, but this year I was able to get like 6 or 8 hours of sleep every single night. I felt more refreshed than I've ever felt playing poker. And the results just went with it. I mean,
that's awesome.
It was, I don't know. I look back, I just amazed at how much. I mean, it's easy to say how much. Oh, you had so much fun because you won $1 million and blah blah blah. But no, it was a great time, whether I would have won or not.
That's awesome. I think anytime you can try and do it the healthy way, you should do that.
Yeah,
Long term, way more sustainable, way better for you.
for sure.
And a lot of people players take Adderall. I think that's not something that's that rare, right? I almost feel like you didn't want to bring it up because you weren't sure about that topic in general, but I
Yeah.
think that's common for a lot of people that they do that. A lot of players smoke weed when they play.
Yeah, you
And
walk out back and that's all you smell.
is it's good to hear it's still like that. Some things never
It's
change.
bad. Yeah, the second you walk out, it's just a fucking smoke cloud.
I guess I'd rather have that than people smoking cigarettes, but
Yeah, for sure. I definitely, I used to do that too. And yeah, this was the first World Series ever that I went the whole time without smoking a cigarette or vaping. So yeah, it's like I don't know, my life is just, it's really lining up and, some good decisions and getting good results in all aspects. Mainly what's the coolest thing is just the relationships that I've made over the past year. I wouldn't have been able to make those and keep those relationships prior. So just when one thing starts, it's just a snowball effect. When some things start going good, everything, it seems to fall into place, and life is really good.
hashtag positivity.
Yeah. Coming from Mattisau.
or really, I'm thinking of Hellmuth, but maybe that one works too.
Yeah, fucking burn this place down.
What did you think about that? What do you think about the fucking burn this place down?
I think that it's a shame that they allow him to act that way. I think it's a shame that he was not penalized in some way. I have a close friend that is barred from, he can't play any
Sam
of the,
Panzica we're talking about, right?
Sam the Panther. He can't play the World Series because he got drunk one time and got out of line and made a stupid remark that 5 years later he still hasn't been able to play a World Series event. And
yeah, it's sad.
And then you have the staple of the World Series of Poker, Phil Hellmuth, that is their drawing card, and because of his temper tantrums, and he does that and nothing happens. It's a shame. It's embarrassing to the World Series of Poker.
It is embarrassing. And when I first saw that clip, I thought to myself, this is over the line. And then I pulled up and I watched that final table, watched through just to see what Hellmuth was like. He was unbearable
the whole time.
I know the community is really split on this, and there's a lot of people that have the attitude of, oh, this is great for poker because interesting. And I do kind of get that it's interesting in you're seeing a train slowly go off the rails, and you're but it's still a train wreck. It was a complete train wreck. You could barely follow the game because of how ridiculous he was being. He was throwing cards. I don't think we ever got a number, but the number of fucks said at that table, it was a fucking lot.
Like that. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind the fucks. I'd rather somebody be genuine, but but it gets to a point where it's embarrassing, and it's embarrassing to him. It's embarrassing to poker. I'm a Phil, I don't want to say fan. I like Phil. I like him as a person. I like him away from the table way more than I like him at the table. But that was just ridiculous. And there should be consequences to behavior like that. I'm no saint, but I'm not going to say that I'm going to burn the fucking place down.
Yeah, that pretty clearly crosses a line.
Yeah. So
obviously we do know though that he's not going to burn the place down.
Right.
But it definitely crosses the line. And I feel like a little bit, and I don't think anyone else has had this take before, but I feel a little bit like he thought, I'm just going to say this because I know I can fucking get away with this. I'm going to say this. No one else can say this. And it's going to be totally cool because I'm Phil Hellmuth.
Yeah.
And I think there was a little bit of that in there, baked in.
I mean, I don't know. I'm glad that it's washed away, or it's not on the headlines anymore.
I'll say this about Phil. I do think that he has a good heart deep down.
For sure.
And if Phil owes you $1, you're getting paid.
Absolutely.
He's a man of his word, and he generally speaking means good. However, he is also very narcissistic, and he does things that you just ask, why are you doing this, Phil? For example, the thing with charity really bothers me, where he says,
I've raised,
and then he lists every charity event he's ever gone to that he got paid to go to, by the way.
yeah.
So he'll get paid to go to so let me just give a hypothetical example. He'll get paid $10K to go to a charity. They'll raise $1 million, and then he'll add the $1 million to what he's raised to charity. You didn't raise that. You were paid to host that.
Well, in Phil's defense, and I'm exactly, and I've said the same exact thing that you've said before, because I think that when it comes to charity, when you bring that shit up, you're doing it only for yourself. But I do think that Phil donates his time to that charity. So like if he does an MCs something, and if his appearance fee is $25,000, he might donate, I'll donate my time, which is $25,000. So now in his head, it comes out of his mouth is I donated $25,000. But I do see exactly what you're saying.
But was he paid to do these events or not? Because my understanding is he was paid to be there. And then I also think
both. I think there's both. I think that he donates his time. And then when it comes down to him putting on the scoreboard, instead of saying, oh, I donated my time, my 3 hours is worth 50,000. I donated 50,000. That's my guess.
I'm going to come in here with a pretty hot take that's going to anger us. The majority of people giving to charity is just to make themselves look good, so they can say that they did it. That's the bottom line. They're not trying to help people. They want it to be known. I'm awesome. Look at how awesome I am. And it's okay with me that exists, because then, of course, people do benefit from that. So that's great. But when people try and do this, I'm so awesome. Look at all this charity I did. I'm such a great person. I'm such a great human. We should include charity because I'm just so fucking sweet. I'm just such a great guy. I see that from people, and I think I see through this, right? And I know that in some exchanges online, people have said charity to me, and I'm always like, no, I'm not doing that. This is about me taking your money. I guess I'm just sick of people hiding behind charities to try and make themselves look good when they're oftentimes doing sketchy shit.
But it's better when they call it philanthropy. They throw in the I'm a philanthropist.
You can't spell philanthropy without
PH.
Phil.
That's true.
Very true. I mean, when you think about it, he kind of raised that word in a way. Think about it. Sit on it.
Yeah. But I will go. I will say this about your thought about everybody donating to charity to show that I disagree, because there's the anonymous button. You always have the option to donate with the anonymous button, and I like to see that. Giving back makes me feel good. Telling people about giving back does nothing for me. But giving back does make me feel good.
So if I was going to donate to people, there's an exception here where I lost a bet and said I donated. But if I was going to donate, it would not be to post about donating it.
Right.
It wouldn't be so I could tweet saying I raised a bunch of money. Look at how great I am.
As it shouldn't be. Because you're probably normal. I mean,
it's become a thing where you signal about how awesome that you are. And I'm not attacking the charities. A lot of charities do good work. A lot of them are mismanaged. But this whole I need to be holy by this. Sorry, I know it's a bit of a tangent. I see this so often. And one thing that I especially hate, Josh, is I see people that are scammers. They'll hide behind charities. So they scam people and then they'll say, well, I'm doing this charity work. And then it's, oh, you can't make fun of this guy.
I took a lot of heat. I took a lot of heat. Something's going on here in Georgia. There's a guy running a charity poker room that he's making people believe that they're playing live poker games legally. And I mentioned something about it on Twitter, and I got a bunch of people replying, go fuck yourself. I can't believe you're talking bad. They donate so much money to the little brothers and the little sisters, blah, blah, blah. But it boils down to this card room is operating illegally, which is nothing. I have no, do whatever you want. I mean, I haven't walked the straightest line my whole life. But these people are making people think they're playing legally. So now a lawyer, accountant, any professional can go in there and play poker, and they think they're doing it legally, but eventually they're going to get raided and it's going to get busted and they're going to be on the news, and they didn't know that they were doing anything wrong. But yeah, I took a bunch of heat for saying that exact thing. But because of the fact that this guy probably pays about 1% to the little brothers and the little sisters of whatever, it's okay.
All I'm hearing is that you hate children. That's my take.
Especially mine. I hate mine.
I'm done here, Josh.
We don't. You found your clickbait, and Josh hates kids. There you go.
Boom. Headline Upswing Poker article.
Especially his own. He hates them.
Also, you can't really have nuance anymore because in some subjects, and charity is one of them, there are several subjects I've noticed when I talk about. I even see it in the comments here today. When you talk about them, instantly people will go, "You're a scumbag. I hate you. This is awful." And saying that, I think that people that donate to charity oftentimes are doing it selfishly. That's one of them. People get really upset about that. And I get it. They're trying to protect the people because the donation is actually a good thing. But you got to be able to have some nuance, right? In that game you're talking about, if people are going to end up getting in trouble thinking they're playing a fair game because they're donating $1,000 to a charity every year, this is a bad thing that's happening, even though there is a good aspect to it. It doesn't have to be completely black and white. You have to think about all the different parts that are involved.
Right.
We're really getting people in the holiday spirit here.
Yeah. I think that, for myself, donating whatever, when I do donate, it is selfish. It makes me feel good. I do it, to help, but being able to help makes me feel good. Like, I take a lot of pride, and just like a lot of people in our industry, in the ability to earn. And when I am able to give, that means that I'm doing my job. That's selfish.
Sense. Bring back to the player of the year hunt, because we got a few more questions on this subject for you. What was the point where you realized, I think I'm going to win this? Was it right down to the wire, or what was the point where it looked good for you?
That I don't know what the right word is, but I always felt that something bad was going to happen. I don't know why. But I felt that it was going to get scooped up under me, and nobody remembers who came in second place ever. And when it comes to the player of the year, if you look at every banner on the wall, you don't know who came in second. And I just thought that it was going to get scooped up from me. Ben Yu was at the final table of the last event, and if he won, even after the World Series of Poker came out with a tweet that said I was the official winner. And well, hold on a second. No, you're not. If Ben Yu wins this tournament, he's the winner. So it
seems like every year there's problems with this, right? Did they tell Negreanu he won a few years ago, and then they said, "Oh, actually, sorry, you didn't."
Yeah, and then it was really screwed up because they were in Russia, or Mazvadov, or whatever it's called. I don't know the name of it.
Yeah.
And it got really, really crazy because they had given Daniel too many points, like double credited an event. And then out of nowhere, Robert Campbell came out and won. He was the one on top. So it was crazy. And this year it was just like the shit show is happening, and I'm the one. Like, if I turn this around, my camera around, my girlfriend got me these balloons with my point total, and there's a little sign over here that says WSOP Player of the Year lives here.
Aww.
It was like all this stuff was waiting for me when I got home. And then like an hour after I got home, we find out that, oh shit, if Ben Yu wins this tournament, he's the winner. So it was really cool. Like, Sean was deep in that tournament too, and he was giving me updates, and it was a lot of fun sweating it. And I didn't really, I truly thought that something was going to happen. And then at the end, when Ben was knocked out, I knew that there was no taking it from me.
Very nice. Brutal sweat to sit there and anti-sweat, though.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
You think you have something in the bag, and meanwhile, now you have to sweat this.
And anti-sweating is no fun. Like it
Not
is the worst. I actually left the World Series a week early because I got an email from home that something was up with my daughter, and I wanted to be here with her. So I came home and told her about what was going on. She's like, "What are you talking about? Everything is why are you here? And everything's fine. Go back out there." And when I left Vegas the first time, the Monday before the Monday of the last week of the World Series, I wouldn't have had enough points to win. So I hung out in Atlanta for like 3 or 4 days with her, and then flew back Friday morning, the morning of the 50K PLO, and ended up getting more points, and that was what made me win.
trip well worth it.
Yeah.
All right. So moving forward, what are some of your goals like now? What does this mean for you? And are you going to continue to play this series, or is this sort of a bucket list thing? I guess you didn't really go in with the specific goal to try and win one. It just kind of happened organically. So I imagine moving forward, will it be similar, or is this something you're going to be in the hunt for now?
No, it'll be the same. I mean, I'm old, man. I'm
How old are you?
47, and I
Not that
don't.
old.
Well, I mean, it's playing 14 hours a day for 54 days straight is tough. And I if I find myself in the same situation again, uh, I will play, because that just means that I'm having fun playing. I'm doing good. I'm not buried. And so I'll play, but no, it's definitely not a goal. I like to focus on the mixed games, and I like to focus on the pot limit Omahas, but I despise the stud variation of poker. I don't enjoy getting up and playing $800 and $1,000 no limit events at 11 in the morning against 2,000 people. But if I find myself in a deep run, then yeah, I'll go for it again. I mean, it's
The
pretty
stud
cool.
the stud formats, I'm also not a fan of. I had a brief foray into 8 game. I mainly played heads up online, but I played a little bit live. And the problem with a lot of the stud formats is that there are just way too many spots where one guy obviously has something good, one guy obviously didn't improve, and then the guy that didn't improve just should fold. And I think that games are better when there's a lot of nuance. So, like for example, in No Limit Hold'em, there are spots where cards definitely favor one player. A good example is if somebody check calls a flop and the middle card pairs. It's usually better for the check caller. The guy who bet can have some middle pairs too, but if the other guy has middle pair, he's basically always check calling. So there are some cards where it's definitely better for one guy, but you have to think about it. Which cards, how often? Some middle pairs are different than others. Some bottom pairs could go either way. Who has more of what based on pre-flop? There's actually a lot of thought process that goes into that. In stud, it can be, oh, he has kings face up and I have queen jack. I'm going to fold here. You just have
Yeah.
to fold, right? Or in Raz, very simple decisions you have to make as well. So I think the problem with the stud games is, first off, they're so face up. I know that's kind of a stupid thing to say, but they are so face up. And then also, there's just so many variants. And so 8 game, there's 3 stud variants. It's totally uncalled for. If it was 2, that might even be too much. 3 is ridiculous.
Well, I'll say this about stud. There's something to it, and I just don't know what it is. Like I play honest stud. Like when I'm playing, no matter what the game is, I'm just playing honest poker. I had the pleasure of playing a lot of hours against Scott Seiver in a stud 8 tournament, and I believe in one of the 8 game mixed tournaments. But that son of a bitch just flat out plays the game. Like he gets it. And when I'm watching him play, I'm like, what am I doing here? Like I'm very at the mercy of the deck, and Scott's playing the game. So unless I am going to dive into the stud streets and learn how to play stud, it's never going to be that fun for me because I'm just waiting and playing honest poker. And that's like, and Scott's just on a level that there's a couple people that I've really been impressed with through the years. I remember 4 or 5 years ago being deep in the 50K and Matthew Ashton was just crushing
I remember
the
that.
stud. And then just the time that I spent with Scott this time, he was just beastly, and it's
Master Blaster.
Yeah, Master Blaster. God, I battled against him.
I played some versus Scott too. Not that much. He kind of was on his way out of online as I was getting involved. But the thing about Scott is he's very creative and he's very conniving, and he can think of on the felt, and he can think of things in ways that you can't really think of. And so let me give you an example, right? That infamous hand he played in the $1 million one drop against was it Tobias Renkenmeyer, whoever it was a German player he was playing against. I think it was one of the Tobiases, and he was bluffing with King 10, and the guy had aces, and then he started talking to him. That's the kind of hand that I feel you could only get from Scott, because what Scott can do is Scott is so good at deceiving people that he can actually deceive himself into believing the lie that he's telling.
Right.
And so as he's talking, you look at Scott and you think, wow, he's not giving away any tells. It's because he has told such a convincing story that he just believes himself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He just believes the story that he's telling at it's actually amazing. If you talk to Scott, sometimes this will happen with Scott, by the way. I will tell someone a story. They'll tell someone. They'll tell Scott, and then Scott will tell someone, and then I'll hear it. Scott told me that this thing was 700K on the flop in this thing, and I said, "Wait, I told that story. It was 200K in the turn." You know that can happen, right? So I guess I can't do that's for sure. Scott's fault specifically, and he does like to embellish. Scott's a natural storyteller, but he can put himself in. He can convince himself of his story so well that it's very dangerous when you try and play speech games with Scott, because you're not going to get tells easily, and he can easily misdirect you. And he's very good at poker. He really knows how to create stories. Yeah,
it was a treat to I feel like if somebody asked me like, what did you learn, like if there was anything that you learned during your 2 months out there, because I try to learn every time that I play, whether I'm winning or losing, I'm focusing. And I think if there was one thing that I learned this year, it definitely came from Scott and Stud. So it was
nice.
Yeah, it was a treat.
Very nice. A couple other subjects here to talk about. First off, your name's Golfer Josh. Golf. I assume you golf. I don't know anything about golf, but I figure I'd open the floor. Golf. Yeah. That's a thing that you do.
I used to play a lot. Basically I'm just a competitor at heart. Whatever it is, I love competing. And for many, many years, I competed golfing, and I enjoyed being outside. And with poker being my profession, I have a lot of time on my hands. So I've played a lot of golf. I've stepped back this past couple years, dealt with some back issues and personal issues, but eventually I'll make my way back out there and play some more.
Okay, very cool. Before this podcast started, you said, make sure I remember to talk about PocketFives. So I am your reminder. I'm the alarm clock going off here. PocketFives, what do we got going on over there? What are you up to?
I mean, as I'm sure, or I don't know if you know, but forever, PocketFives has been a big online community with online rankings.
Yeah,
but
one of the biggest.
This year, PocketFives has created a staking platform where you can crowdfund and invest in some of your favorite players. I put a lot of my World Series events up there, which were very unpopular until I started winning. So everybody started jumping on the bandwagon. But Daniel Negreanu, we posted every one of his events. I had some Phil Hellmuth events, Eric Seidel posted 2 events. He final tabled both of them. I had Zeno, Galen Hall, Felipe Ramos, some really good players that are putting themselves out there. at very little mark. I mean, I had Daniel sold at no markup to every event that he played. My events were basically all no markup, or maybe I think to some PLO I might have did at 1.05. Obviously, Phil had some markup on his, but I was able to talk it down to where
Nice.
it was.
So like
where
5.0, something like that.
it was. He gave his fans a fair sweat, but I'll leave it at that. I greatly appreciate Phil letting me sell some of his events. Fedor Holt sold at very reasonable markup. And we're growing, and eventually we're going to have cage integration. So we will be able to have anybody post, and it's a great way to engage with your fans. And it's also a great way for the player to sell pieces and only have to deal with one place. Like one of the biggest problems of selling pieces is you got some people giving you cash, some people paying you PayPal, some people paying you crypto. Just do it all in one spot, and we take no transaction fees, and we take no percentage of the win, and we don't charge the horse anything for posting either. So
how does PocketFives make money from that?
We don't want to make money. It's
No? Are
we
you
don't
looking for investors or?
No, no. It's
I don't know any, but just maybe someone.
Yeah, no. The end game will all make sense, but right now we are definitely operating at a loss, so that the staking world can become more popular, because people have high opinions of themselves, and a lot of people sell at too much markup as it is. So when a company comes in and tries to charge a commission, it makes everybody lose, other than the guy overcharging. But we have some cool things in store with some good markup police, and it's the upcoming couple years, and definitely next year's World Series, we should have an app by then. And it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to allow everybody to bring their fans in and sweat some action.
Let's jump into the meat of this subject, and I understand you're not going to want to hammer people for their markup too much here, but I feel like we need to address this conversation because it has been a conversation that has happened pretty much every year at the World Series of Poker that I can remember. Normally right before the series starts, you see some packages going around, and you see players offering their package or some events, and the markup is insane. It tends to be older pros playing higher rollers, higher stakes events tend to be some of the worst value packages, but you see it at all the stakes. You see people offering kind of ridiculous stuff. What are your thoughts on people doing that? Do you feel like as a platform, you're just trying to say, look, we're just letting them offer it. It's up to them. Do you feel some responsibility?
No. I definitely feel like it's my responsibility to protect my community. I feel that every person that's a customer of ours at PocketFives, me as the head of PocketFives, it's my job to protect them. It's my job to protect them. And I think it's wrong to charge too high, because it's kind of a fair analogy. PocketFives is in a sense a casino, and I'm offering different stuff for people to not gamble, but invest in. It's on me to make sure that I don't let these people make bad investments, because they're going to invest. There are going to be certain times that I'm going to allow and post negative EV packages, but I'm going to find some way to have there be a disclaimer. Like, we think this is a high markup, but go at your own risk. Proceed with caution.
I like that.
Because it's like Phil. Let's just say Phil, because Phil is the most famous poker player. He is charging for entertainment. So when you pay 1.3 for Phil's markup, against the best 100K crushers, in a tournament that's a 50 or 100K against the crushers, you're paying for the entertainment value. You're paying for the cost. We pay $150 to get into Disneyland. It's entertainment. And as long as you know that's the situation and that's the lay of the land, then I'm okay with that. But I'm not going to go sell some random guy and let him charge 1.3 because he thinks he can get it. I won't do that. So most of the stuff, most of the packages that you see on PocketFives will be good deals, or fair deals.
I like that.
Because,
That's a good way of I like the idea of a disclaimer. I think that's good. I'm a big believer in an open market, and if there's demand, you should sell it at them. Sell it. I think if there's demand, like let's just say for example, you think that your value is 1.3, but people are just pounding at the gate, and 1.4 is going to sell. I think you do have a right to sell it at 1.4.
I disagree.
The problem is, well, but okay, that's good. It's an ethical position to take. I guess my position is just if there's the demand there and you're transparent, you say, I think that this is too high, but allowing the market to purchase it or dictate the price, I think that's fair, because then as long as you're being honest, okay, I think I'm 1.3, the market says 1.4, guys, it's up to you. You've kind of done your part, and at that point, there's a limited supply of the thing that you own, and then the market goes back and forth.
Right.
The problem is when you're 1.3 and you sell it 2 and you say, guys, I'm worth 3 easy. Now we have a real problem, because now you're misleading people into buying something that they're losing money in. So the problem comes in though where there's a lot of ego in high stakes poker, and having to admit I could be losing in this event, right? And one of the great things about sort of what Timex does, where you can short players, is that it lets the market become way more efficient, because you can take the other side in some spots, and then also you can get sort of a feel for what a more neutral third party might think of the win rates. I think that's good, but it's just a dicey conversation. And the funny thing about it, Josh, it's going to happen every year.
For sure.
It's going to be 2040, and we're going to be debating whether Phil Hellmuth III should be charging 1.63 or something,
I also I look at it also as even before my position at PocketFives, I looked at it as if you are the only bookie in town, are you going to charge minus 120 on both sides just because you've got the only product? And I'm going to charge you 120. I know that I should only be charging you 110, but you don't have to click. You don't have to bet. I think that that's unethical on the bookies' part. But everybody, I'm totally open to everybody's opinion, and I'm not the guy that says my opinion's right and that's the only thing. So I'm very open to being wrong in every decision that I make.
I respect your stance, and I think it's great for players. So from that perspective, I think it's good, and I love what you're doing with the platform and the disclaimer. I think that's awesome. Crypto, are you invested in anything? Do you?
No, I used to, and yeah, we'll just leave it at that. I've got some sick bad beat stories, but yeah, let's just leave it there.
Okay, all right. Sick bad beat stories. You hate to hear it. All right, that brings us to the end here today. Is there any last things you want to say for the people listening? Where you want people to follow you? Any last words?
No, I mean, if you can deal with a useless Twitter account that doesn't do anything but troll people, and I mean, they already
follow me, Josh.
Yeah,
so they're set in that front.
I mean, well, my Twitter account is full of very useless information, and once, maybe about 1 out of 10 times, one of my bad jokes will give you a chuckle. But I'm Golfer Josh on Twitter, and just be on the lookout for. I truly think that PocketFives will be a lot of fun and a big asset to the poker community moving forward, and I think that it's really important for the growth of poker. As it lets people. It gives people the opportunity to play events that they wouldn't be able to afford without investors. and it also lets fans engage and go along for the rides with some of their favorite players. So if you want to support Pocket Fives when more poker is coming around, then I'd love it.
And just to add on to that, PocketFives has been a staple in the community for just so many years. Upswing's had some various dealings with PocketFives at different points. Always been a great company, and certainly good people over there. So can strongly recommend that as well. That's going to do it here from us today, guys. I want to say thanks to Josh for joining the podcast, and thank you for tuning in. Next week, we're going to be joined by World Series of Poker main event champion Corey Aldemir will be joining the podcast. Should be a great one. I feel like if we get the player of the year, we got to get the main event champ. We got to have the big winners from the series. So hope you guys are excited for that one. We will be back with that next week. Also, Sean Deeb, near future. Okay, so just pencil him in. At some point, we're going to get Sean Deeb on the podcast. Love to hear from him too. Plenty more guests lined up in the near future. Getting my scheduling set. That's going to be a wrap. Make sure to enter the giveaway over on Twitter, $2,000 in free flex. I will see you guys again next week. Peace.